So hello guys, how are you all? So as you seen in thumbnail, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto had multiple split personality disorder? Watch this video till the end, also like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the video. Team 10 stood on top of the academy eating lunch, after learning who was on what team after graduation. While they were waiting for their sensei to pick them up, Ino said, "Man, I can't believe that forehead got on the team with Sasuke-kun. Life is so unfair," she whined quietly. Seeing that neither Shikamaru or Choji was listening, she focused her frustration on them. "Hey! Are you listening to me?" Ino paused in her rant because she noticed that both Shikamaru's and Choji's attention was somewhere else. When she followed their gaze, she saw something of the side of the building. "What are you looking at?" she demanded loudly. She walked closer to take a better look, and saw Sasuke eating lunch inside a classroom. A few moments later, she noticed Naruto jump into the room through the window. She couldn't see more because the curtain fell down, blocking their sight. "What the hell is Naruto thinking that he's doing?" she grumbled. A few moments later, they watched Sasuke jumping out of the window to who knows where. Serves that baka right. Troublesome Ino, that's Naruto in a henge. Ino blinked in surprise and was about to argue that when something, or rather someone else, jumped out of the window. They watched as Sasuke took the opposite direction that Naruto had chosen. Ino blinked and asked, why would Naruto attack Sasuke-kun, only to henge into him? More importantly, how did he beat him, she demanded. Half hoping that Shikamaru would answer her question. Instead of Shikamaru, the answer came from an unexpected source. Choji snorted in response. "I haven't talked to Naruto in a while, and even I know that he's doing that to trick Sakura. Just look down." Ino did as Choji told her and noticed the benches down on the walkway not too far from the academy. They were often used to eat lunch from various academy students. Ino watched as Sakura and Narusasuke talked. Ino's eyes narrowed before a small smile appeared on her face. She watched as Narusasuke and Sakura almost kissed, before Narusasuke grabbed his stomach and ran away. Ino's smile dropped when she saw that. She and her two teammates kept watching what would happen next. A few moments later, the real Sasuke came by and said something to her none of them could hear. It was obvious that whatever Sasuke said wasn't nice because Sakura looked ready to cry. Ino looked very thoughtful at what she had seen. "Naruto, you just gave me a great idea to get rid of some competition." Ino's smile had grown into a smirk, something Shikamaru and Choji had learned from experience that it spelled trouble. When Ino looked at her two male teammates, both of them raised their eyebrows. "Not a word, you two," she growled. "Not a word. This is extremely troublesome," Shikamaru muttered. Choji just kept eating his chips. 2 hours later, Team 10 had met their sensei. Currently, Ino stood outside of Naruto's apartment. She was startled when a voice interrupted her. "The beast is not home, girl." Ino jumped in surprise. She looked behind her and saw a man at the bottom of the stairs. "What are you talking about? And who are you anyway?" "Unfortunately, I am the demon's landlord, and he's not here if you're waiting to see him. But if you're here for the usual, I got the lock on the second window broken so you can get in." The landlord paused for a moment. "But you didn't hear that from me. CYA girl." He turned and walked into his apartment on the first floor. Ino blinked and thought, beast, demon? What the hell is he talking about? Why doesn't he fix the window if it is broken? Well, if Naruto is not home, I might as well get comfortable. Ino had made her way on the balcony to the second window and found that it was really easy to open and climb inside. When she got into the apartment, she scrunched her nose when she saw a few empty ramen cups around the room. The room looked like a normal bachelor's room. It wasn't a total mess though. The furniture looked like it belonged in the trash since it did not match. After she had explored the apartment somewhat, she muttered to herself, "It's not as messy as I feared it would be, but it definitely needs to be a lot cleaner for my plan to work." After 20 minutes of waiting and tapping her fingers on the dining table, she got bored. "Maybe if I clean this place up a bit, I can make my plan work like I want it to." 15 minutes later she had finished cleaning up the apartment and had thrown all the trash away in the dumpster under the stairs. Ino made her way towards the fridge and opened it. She frowned when she saw that the milk was expired. Damn it, Naruto, you really need to stock and check the expirations date, damn it. She slammed the fridge door closed, but it popped back open as the shelf in the fridge fell and the milk carton spilled over her dress. Damn it, Naruto. This is all your fault for having shitty furniture. She growled. She reached for the paper towels holder and began to pull a couple off to wipe the milk off of her dress when several $20 bills unrolled with the paper towels. She looked at the money and said, "Idiot, what kind of person hides money in a place like that? When he gets back I am going to give him an ass chewing and teach him the proper way to hide money." She grabbed the money and put it in her dress pocket and whipped the milk the best she could off her dress. She said, "Damn it, the milk is staining my dress and is going to ruin it unless I wash it. My shoes are soaked too. I will come back later and deal with the baka." Her plans decided, she left the room, but made sure to lock the window and the door on her way out. About an hour later Naruto walked toward his apartment and thought, stupid sensei and stupid test. What kind of idiot tells us not to eat before training? As he approached his apartment he saw his manager at the bottom of the stairs and Naruto frowned. The man said, "Hello boy. Tomorrow's the 1st and you know what that means." Naruto said, Yeah, I know. That means today is rent day. Let me run up and grab my money and come back and pay you. As he walked past the man and pulled out the keys to the door and unlocked the door before opening them, and he went wide-eyed and thought, shit, what happened? As he ran inside to the clean apartment. He looked around and thought, no, please God no, where are they? Please someone tell me this is a joke. As he went through his entire apartment and he ran back out and saw his manager and asked, "Hey, has anyone been in my apartment today?" The man said, "No, now where's my money?" Naruto walked back inside and he was biting his lip as he tried to hold back some tears, and he walked over to the paper towel roll and began to pull, and his eyes went wider the more he pulled, and he thought, oh God, please no more, not my money too, please have mercy for me for once. As he unrolled the entire roll, he heard footsteps coming up the steps and he looked around and saw his fridge door opened and he saw milk all over the place, and he said, this is just great. He heard his manager say, what's great? Where's my money and what's with the mess? If I see this mess again I will raise your rent. Now where's my money, boy? Naruto gulped with his back to the man and said, I don't have it. Somebody broke in and took it. The man looked around the apartment and said, doesn't look like a break-in, you're not trying to pull a fast one, are you? Naruto turned and said, no sir, I swear, I had the money hid but somebody took it and they cleaned my apartment. I swear. The man said, well, I don't believe you. Since you don't have the money then you're hereby evicted, effective immediately. Now leave. Naruto sighed and he went to open the cabinet when the manager blocked him and said, no way, boy. You forfeited your rights to everything in here for lack of payment. I am going to have to sell everything in here just to make up for the damage you did to the furniture and that broke window. Naruto frowned and said, can I at least? The man interrupted him and said, no, nothing. Get out before I call ANBU, boy. Naruto sighed and slowly walked out, taking one last look at his things, and walked down the stairs with his hands in his pocket. He thought, what now? I don't have any more money and the old man already informed me that now that I am a genin I don't qualify for the orphan allowance I've been living off until now. I can't even go get any ramen because I owe them money as well tomorrow. Who would do that? Who would break in and take all my precious items and my money? As he looked up at the sky and thought, great, looks like it's going to rain tonight. Where can I stay? Ino walked into her bedroom and took her shoes and dress off and looked at the stain and frowned and thought, well, this is ruined. Naruto, you idiot, you owe me a new dress. As she checked the pockets and then her eyes got wide as she thought, shit, I took his money, wait, he owes me for my dress and he would have to pay me for a new dress, so I will just take this. Time to go shopping. As she changed and grabbed the money before leaving. That evening Ino was walking back into her family flower shop with a bag and Inoichi looked at her and said, hey princess, what's in the bag? Ino said, oh, I got me a new dress today because that Baka Naruto fridge shelf broke and spilled milk all over it. Inoichi frowned and asked, "What were you doing at Naruto Place, dear?" Ino said, "Well, I was going to help him and Forehead get hooked up, but after waiting for a while in his apartment I got thirsty and checked his fridge, and like I said, the fridge shelf broke." Inoichi asked, "And how did you get inside his apartment, dear? Did he leave the door unlocked?" Ino said, "No, his manager told me one of the window was broken and I could get in through it." Inoichi bit his lip and said, "I see. Well, it was nice of Naruto to give you some money to pay for your dress. So did you help him and Sakura get together?" Ino said, "Well, not exactly, he never showed up." Inoichi blinked and asked, "What do you mean he never showed up? I know you already spent your allowance last week shopping and you didn't get any money from me, so how did you get the money to buy that dress?" in a more scolding voice. Ino said, "Well, when I was cleaning up the milk off my dress with some paper towels, money fell from the paper towel roll and I had took it because I was going to give it back to him when he got there, but then I decided to come home and change, but by the time I got here my old dress was ruined, so I just took the money I had on me to replace my dress." Inoichi blinked again. "Please tell me you just didn't tell me what I think you did." He took another deep breath. "Ino Yamanaka, what the hell were you thinking, young lady? You took his money without permission and then spent it. I raised you better than that. What do you have to say for yourself?" he demanded loudly. He even released a little key to make sure she talked. Ino was frightened because her dad never yelled at her and said, I don't know, Daddy, he was going to have to pay me for my dress anyway." She protested. Inoichi took several breaths to calm down and asked, "Really? Please tell me why you think he should pay for your dress when you broke into his apartment without his permission. Then you took his money and then you somehow expect him to pay for it? You are going back to the store and return it. If they can't, then you won't get your allowance until you've paid for it." "But I can't, that store doesn't take returns." "Then that means you won't get any money from your allowance until you've paid for it. How much money did you take from apartment? And Cammy, help me if I find out you lied to me about this." 200, Daddy, she told him quietly. Inoichi's eyes got wide and he said, "Do you have any of it left?" Ino slowly shook her head. "No, I don't have anything left. I got matching shoes and hair ribbons. I wanted to impress Sasuke-kun." Inoichi slapped his forehead and grabbed some of his hair and said, "My God, girl, do you have any idea what you have done?" Ino said, "I'm sorry, Daddy." Inoichi glared at her and said, "It's not me you should be saying sorry to, Ino. That would be Naruto. Here, take this money to his apartment and tell him what you told me. And I swear if I hear you left anything out there will be serious trouble for you." He gave her 200 to pay Naruto back with. "You better make him believe you, or you won't go shopping for the next year." Ino took it and quickly left and headed toward Naruto's apartment. When she got there she noticed the dumpster below his stairs was on fire and she went to the door that was open and saw the manager and she knocked and said, "Excuse me, but is Naruto here?" The manager turned and said, "Oh, it's you. Now," he moved. "I am just cleaning up all this trash he left." Ino frowned and said, "I see, thank you," as she turned and walked back home. When she got home her dad was standing there waiting and he said, "Well." Ino said, "He moved, Daddy, and his manager didn't know where he moved to, so I will have to wait till I see him again." Inoichi sighed as he took the money and said, "Fine, but you are to remember to pay him back and tell him you're sorry. I guess since he moved there's nothing you can do for now." As he put the money in the safe and said, "I am heading out to meet up with the guys for our weekly bar night. Lock up for the night and I will see you tomorrow." He turned and left. Ino sighed and locked the door before turning and shutting the lights out before going up to her room and thought, "Stupid Baka getting me yelled at. Is this the thanks I get for trying to help him and Forehead get together?" The next day Naruto woke up hearing voices and looked around and thought, "Good thing I know how to get in here," as he quickly opened a window and left. He headed toward Training Ground 7 for his Genin test. Ino got up and got dressed and started heading down the stairs when her dad stepped out of the kitchen holding his head and a cup of coffee and he said, "Morning, princess. Sleep well?" Ino said, "Yes, Daddy." Inoichi nods and said, "Well, good luck today and have fun." Ino said, "I will try, though I wish I was on Sasuke-kun team." Inoichi said, "Don't forget what I told you, young lady." Ino said, I won't, geez," as she quickly left. When Naruto got to his team training ground, Sakura screamed, "You're late, Baka, it's 7:45 and you were supposed to be here at 6. Naruto said, "Sorry Sakura-chan, my alarm clock broke." Sakura hit him over the head and said, "Baka." An hour later Kakashi showed up and explained the rules, and when he told about the food, all three of them held their stomach, and Naruto thought, "I need to win this because it's free food. I don't know how long it will be before my next meal." Time skip 14 days later. Inoichi, Chusa, and Shikaku, all three were standing in front of the Hokage, and the third said, "Thank you three for coming so soon, but you see there is a delicate matter that I need your help with." Shikaku asked, "What is it, sir?" The third said, "As you are all aware, since the Mizuki incident I have stated how I did not like having a spy for another village working at the academy, and I have had someone I trust keeping an eye at the academy. This person has told me that for the past 2 weeks when he has arrived at the academy he has found a window open, and he is usually one of the last to leave, and he has checked and double-checked to ensure all windows and doors are locked before leaving, and yet again this morning he has found the window open again. The academy has one of the top 3 security setups in the village where no one can shushin, and besides those hours the academy are actually open. ANBU patrol around it at random intervals. I do not like this. I am afraid someone may be either trying to get information on Leaf Ninja from the academy records or possibly setting up a situation to remove the next generation of shinobi. Both of which would be disastrous for the village." Inoichi asked, "So what is it you want us to do, sir? Why not have ANBU take care of this?" The third sighed and said, "I am afraid that Danzo might be involved, and though I can't prove it, his root program is still operating even after I ordered it disbanded. I believe that he may even have someone in my ANBU spying for him, and if he does then they might find out and tip off whoever is doing it or use this person work to get that information for Danzo. I trust you three can capture and interrogate whoever it is who is breaking in and discover what this person or persons is doing there. So far there is no actual evidence of any of the archive rooms being broken, though the library has been." Shikaku said, "That doesn't make sense, sir. The academy library has just the basic of chakra, theory on the basic 3 and other basic things like that every hidden village has." The third said, "Exactly, which is one of the reasons this is troubling. The information in the library is basic info, yet someone is actually going in there for some reason. I don't know if they are attempting to bypass security to get to the archive room or what, but you must find out who is behind this and why. I do not want anyone else to know about this." Chusa said, "We understand, sir. Besides the shinobi files and the medical files, the archives for the academy are the only place you could get information on skills, medical history including allergies, family, and history of most of our forces. When do we start?" The third said, "You are to meet my contact in the academy at 5 o'clock tonight in room 301 and remain hidden until you discover how this person is getting inside and what they are after. Once you have gotten that info, bring the person here so they can be dealt with accordingly." All 3 men said yes sir, before they left. At 5 p.m. all 3 men went into the academy and into room 301, and Irika looked up and said, "I have been expecting you 3. The Hokage had informed me it would be you guys. I hope you can find out who it is." Inoichi said, "It's good to see you again, Irika, though I wasn't expecting to see you besides when you come into my shop to buy flowers for Anko again." Irika blushed and said, "Yes, well anyways I must be going. Here are the keys to the building and I will retrieve them from you tomorrow morning. Good night," as he handed them a set of keys. After Irika left, Chusa asked, "So how do we want to do this?" Shikaku said, "Inoichi will take the northeast corner of the building and watched from the treeline there. I will watch the southwest corner from the Jimto butcher shop sign. From either of those places we should be able to see anyone sneaking in and discover how they do it. You Chusa will stay in here somewhere under a genjutsu to observe our friend. We will watch him or her for a while before we capture them and then interrogate them. We will use our combat frequency on the radios." Chusa nods and casts a genjutsu over himself as he sits in the back of the class as both men lock up and take their respective hiding spot. Around an hour after dark, Inoichi hears a tree limb snap and he looks around and clicks his send button twice, alerting his teammates as he sees a figure walking out of the woods and heading toward the swing. He watches and thinks, must be a false alarm because by his height he's just a kid, as he continues to watch. The person sits on the swing for several minutes just dragging his feet as he moved back and forward before he gets up and takes the swing off the hooks and puts it over his shoulder and heads toward a telephone pole and pulls out a pair of kunai and ties them to his feet and then stabs them into the telephone pole and begins to climb up the pole, and Inoichi thought he must not know how to do the tree climbing. As the person got to the top and crouched down and unties the kunais before stabbing them into the telephone, holding the chain to the pole, and he grabs the other end of the chain and he jumps back off the pole and begins to swing toward the building and swings on top of the building. The person then turns and pulls the chain hard enough to pull both kunais out. Inoichi clicks his send button and asked in a low whisper, "Did you see that, Shikaku?" Shikaku said, "Yeah, I saw it. Pretty creative if you ask me. Think it's a civilian." Inoichi frowned and said, "Perhaps, maybe a kid whose parents won't let them be a ninja judging from the height. It would explain why they want into the library." Shikaku said, "Let's observe a little more," across the ear radio. As both men watched the person walk to the air vent on top of the building and pulled up on it, shocking both men, and the person stepped inside and set it back down, and Inoichi said, "Well, whoever this kid is, he sure the hell knows how to bypass the security. Never thought to use the air ducts." Chusa was in the classroom hiding when a tile on his ceiling began to move, drawing his attention, and a shadowy figure fell through on top of a desk before reaching up and repositioning the tile roof, and Chusa thought, that explains how he gets in, as he watched the person walk down the steps, closing the shades to the window and exit the classroom. He got up and followed the person as they went into the bathroom. He called over the radio in a whisper, "Guys in the John, come on in." A few minutes later the person came out and went toward the library, and Inoichi and Shikaku arrived with Chusa, who was outside of the library, and Inoichi asked anything. Chusa said, "I think it is a kid, but he knows where all the security for the building is, as well as where people would be able to see him or her from the outside, because he closes all the windows before he gets in the open." Inoichi said, "Sounds like a stealth expert," as both men nod. They quickly hide as the person comes out, shutting the light off before they could see who it was, and walked back toward the classroom he entered in. The three men followed as the person walked back inside and turned on the light and walked toward the desk and set a book on the desk and reached into a drawer and pulled out a pencil and a piece of paper. Inoichi asked from outside the door, "What do we do?" Shikaku said, "This game's gone on long enough. I think we all agree on what this kid's up to, though he's going to have to answer some questions. Let me catch him in my shadow, and then you both go in and tie him up." As both men nod, Shikaku's shadow goes under the door toward the chakra signature in the room, and he said, "Kage main no jutsu success," and the other two men run in and blink as they see a person stuck looking in a desk drawer, and Chusa said it can't be, as he walked over as the person caught was frozen in place and couldn't even talk. Inoichi frowned as he walked over and looked at the person who was sitting in the chair naked, and he began tying up his other hand, and when he was done he said, "Okay, release it." As the shadow withdrew, the person said, "What the hell, why couldn't I talk?" Shikaku walked in and frowned as well and said, "You're going to talk all right, Naruto. What the hell are you doing here?" Naruto looked up and he said, "Hey, I know you three, you're Ino, Choji and Shikamaru dads." Chusa said, "Yeah, we are. Now tell us, what are you doing here, Naruto? We saw you sneak in, and we have had reports somebody's been doing it for the past 2 weeks. It's not looking good for you." Naruto looked at them and said, "You wouldn't believe me," quietly. Inoichi said, "Try us. Either you tell us what's going on or we will have to take you to Ibiki. I know you know who he is, Naruto, so please talk." Naruto looked up and said, "I've been sleeping here at nights since I got evicted from my apartment. Someone broke in and stole all my money and took all my most treasured items." Inoichi's eyes got wide and thought, "Oh God, please let me be wrong," and asked, "When did this happen, Naruto?" Naruto said, "The day of team assignments. Kakashi-sensei was 3 hours late getting here, and by the time I got home I had been roped." Inoichi frowned and Shikaku said, "Why didn't you report it, Naruto?" Naruto said, "I told my manager, but he told me he didn't believe me because whoever did it cleaned up the apartment besides the milk they spilled. I wanted to tell the old man, but since I had already been in trouble that week because of Mizuki, I was afraid to, especially when he already informed me I no longer qualify for the orphan's allowance fund since I am now a genin. I can't go to Ichiraku either because I owe them for that week's ramen money, so I haven't been able to even eat besides what I find in the woods, which are a few berries and a raw fish. All three men frowned and Shikaku asked what's with the books. I assume the reason you're naked is you washed your cloths in the bathroom. Naruto said yeah. I can't go to my team training covered in blood and dirt or my teammates will hate me like most of the village does. Inoichi asked what about your sensei, Kakashi was it? Naruto sighed and said he's 3 hours late for everything and when he shows up he tells us some stupid excuse and then we do one D-rank and then he dismisses us and Shushins away and I don't trust him yet and I can't really talk to my teammates about it. Sakura-chan's mom hates me and has been arrested for attacking me before and Sasuke so busy wanting to kill someone he won't even look at me without contempt. Inoichi asked what about your training? What's Kakashi teaching your team? Naruto said nothing. He's always talking about how Sasuke got great potential and Sakura a smart thinker, but all he tells me is I need to improve on everything, but he hasn't actually told us anything on how to improve. Shikaku picked up the book and said kanji for beginners. Why are you reading this? Naruto looked away and Shikaku frowned and took the pen and wrote something and Chusa's eyes got wide and was about to say something when Shikaku shot him a glare and he asked what does this say Naruto? Naruto looked at it and he said I don't know, you got messy writing. Shikaku frowned and said you can't read kanji, can you? Naruto sighed and said only a word or two that I was able to get Iruka to help me with. I was not allowed in the library when I was here or the one in town so I thought that since I was staying here then I can at least try to make up for some of the things I missed. Inoichi said but didn't they teach that to you your first year here? Naruto said I kept getting kicked out of class or had to stand in the corner with a dunce hat on holding buckets of water just because I asked a question or even breathed loudly. All three men looked at each other and Inoichi said come out here in the hall guys, let's discuss this. You stay here Naruto and we will be back in a moment. I am trusting you at the moment so don't try to escape. Naruto said I can't even if I wanted to. I never was taught how to do the rope escape either, as he looked down. As they were walking out Inoichi asked hey, have you seen Ino since that day? Naruto said no why? Inoichi said nothing as the three men walked out and Inoichi walked to the wall and punched it hard making both men look at him. Chusa said you alright man, you're more upset than I thought you would be. Inoichi sighed and said follow me, I don't want him to overhear, as he led them to another classroom and closed the door. When the door was closed he said he's telling the truth. Someone did take his money and I know who, making both men wide-eye. Shikaku asked who. Inoichi looked down and said it was Ino, making both gasp. Chusa said no way, why would she steal from Naruto? Inoichi said she told me she went to his apartment and his manager told her about a window she could get in. She told me she got thirsty and when she was in his fridge she spilled milk over her dress and when she went to clean herself off she found where he had his money in the paper towel roll and she pocketed it and since her cloths were staining and she was tired of waiting she left with his money. When she got home she decided her dress was ruined and thought since it was Naruto's fault her dress was ruined he should replace it so she spent the money. When I found out I made her take the money back after I replaced it but she said he had moved. I guess he had already been evicted by that time and she brought the money back. I told her to pay him back and tell him she's sorry but I guess she hasn't yet. Shikaku said this is troublesome. What do you think we should do? Inoichi said I don't know. Chusa asked what do you think he meant when he said someone took his treasured items and cleaned his place up. Inoichi chuckled and said the last part's easy, Ino. She's a neat freak just like her mother was. She must have been bored and cleaned up his apartment. Shikaku frowned and said I know what he meant by treasured items. I heard Shikamaru meant Ion at once. He said the first time him, Choji, Kiba and Naruto all four played a prank together they had lunch together and Naruto when he finished turned the cup over and wrote the date and their initials and the word prank on it. Inoichi said so used cup of ramen noodles which could be mistaken for trash which Ino cleaned up and threw away. Great, as he sighed and leaned on the teacher's desk in the room. Chusa said this is bullshit guys, he's practically living on the street and you all saw how skinny he looked. He doesn't deserve this crap, and if people find out about this he's going to be in even more trouble. The council may even try to get his ninja license suspended. Shikaku said Minato must be rolling over in his grave doing this to his son. Inoichi nods and said yeah, and the Hokage is most likely going to keep that secret until long after he's dead. I agree, he has to be his son. Chusa nodded and said yeah, no doubt about it. Shikaku said we better get back in there to Naruto, he must be scared. Inoichi said no, I think he's broken. You all saw it, his eyes show he's tired and not just physically. Chusa said guys, what if we took him in? Shikaku said you know that law that the council passed saying he couldn't be adopted. Chusa. All the clans but the Uchiha were against it. Chusa said I don't mean like that. I mean what if we took him as our apprentice? Think about it, you all read the report on the Mizuki incident where he created nearly 100 cage bunshin from what Iruka said. Inoichi said yeah and? Shikaku sat back and thought that's not that bad of an idea. Chusa, I mean sure he can't use our clan jutsu but we all saw how good his stealth and creativity is. If he was properly trained along with that jutsu he could become a one-man capture and interrogation team. Inoichi said yeah and we all know 2 other people who would love to pass on fear knowledge. Chusa shuddered and said yeah, and I was thinking that Inoichi here can help him with mental conditioning to help handle all the mental crap he's had to deal with. I can teach him better eating, including if he ever had to eat of the land again how to do it better. Shikaku said I could teach him strategy and capture, and if they agree they can teach him interrogation. Inoichi smirked and said I just had a great idea. I know where he can stay as well, but we might get into a little trouble because we would have to reveal his secret to the kids. Both men's eyes got wide and Shikaku asked what are you thinking? Inoichi said since this whole mess started with Ino I was thinking I can really lay in the guilt trip on her to teach her that her actions has consequences and get her to let him have her loft I gave her that she's never gotten around to actually using yet. It's got its own kitchen, bathroom, bedroom all set up already. Then we can have the kids actually befriend him the way we should have back then. Shikaku sighed and said it was just so troublesome back then. I mean with the shit between the Cloud incident and then with all the accusations of exactly how the Cloud knew where the heiress room was and then the Uchiha massacre made it where by the time things settled down all our kids done had their own little clique. Sure I heard and saw that the boys had befriended him on some level that usually got them in trouble but never real friendship from what I could tell. Chusa said yeah, we 3 have always tried to if not be neutral then at least mildly supportive of him. We treated him just like any other person would be treated most of the time. Inoichi said that's why it's so hard for me to stomach right now. I raised Ino better than this and I had actually thought when she came home to tell me Naruto had moved that perhaps he had actually found some place to stay but I never would have expected this to happen. Chusa said I think we should return to him now and talk to him. Each of the men nodded and as they walked back into the room where Naruto was still tied down Inoichi cut the ninja wire and said alright Naruto, we need to have a talk. Naruto said would it be possible for me to go get my cloths on, it's getting cold and I am sure they are at least dry enough for me to be able to wear again. Chusa left the room and came back a few minutes later and said here you go, completely dry, as he handed them to Naruto and all 3 men turned around so he could get dressed. Once Naruto was dressed he said so how am I going to be punished? I know staying here was wrong but it was the only place I could think of to try and stay warm and dry, in a depressed voice that cut all 3 men to the core. Inoichi said Naruto, I have a confession to make, you see I know what happened to your money and if what we guessed was your treasured items is right I know what happened to them. Naruto's eyes got wide and he asked who did it? Inoichi sighed and said before I tell you who did it let me tell you how and why so you don't jump to the wrong conclusion. This person didn't do it because of the QB or because they didn't like you. The person who did it actually went to your apartment that day to help try and get you and Sakura together. How? I don't know but anyways when this person was knocking on your door your manager told her about one of the windows she could get in. She went inside and sat down and waited for you but she got bored and she's a bit of a neat freak so she started to clean your apartment while she waited picking up what she thought was just trash but I think what those ramen cups she threw away was actually your special treasures right? Shikamaru told his dad here once about how you wrote tier and your name on the bottom of a cup. Naruto said yeah, I can't afford pictures myself and anything of real value is destroyed on my birthday, so I thought that this way would at least help me remember some of my good memories, but even that seemed to fail now. That explains my treasures, but what about the money? Why did Ino do it? Making all three men wide-eyed. Inoichi asked how. Naruto said, you're trying to make sure I won't hate whoever did it, so that means you care for her. You said it was SHE, so that meant it was a girl or woman, and I can already figure that Ino would try to help me and Sakura get together so she can try and get with the team, so why did she do it? Inoichi sighed and said when she finished she got thirsty and went to get something to drink, but your fridge shelf broke and spilled milk all over her cloth, so she tried to clean it up with paper towels, and that was when she found the money. She told me she was going to hold it until you got back, but then the stain started to ruin her dress, and so she went home to change. Naruto sighed and said, so all this happened because we just missed each other. Damn Kakashi-sensei for being late. At least she didn't just take it and spend it or do it to actually harm me like I was thinking. Can she at least give me back my money, because I can then pay my bill and get something to eat from Ayame and her dad, as his stomach grumbled. Inoichi sighed again and Naruto looked at the three men and said, she spent it, didn't she? Inoichi said, originally yes. I hate to say it, but the girl is shallow. I raised her better than this, but when she got home she saw her dress was ruined in her opinion and thought that it was your fault, even though it was all her fault, and she thought you should have to pay to replace her dress, so she took the money and spent it, and I didn't learn about it until late that evening when she returned home. When I asked her about the bags and the money, she told me everything, and I ordered her to return it and scolded her, telling her how disappointed I was, and she informed me the store she got it from doesn't take returns, so I gave her money out of the register. I planned to make her work off, send her back to your place, but she was told you had moved by your manager. She came back and I told her to find you and tell you she was sorry and actually mean it and pay you back. I had no idea that this would happen, Naruto, or I would have tracked you down myself, but I thought that perhaps you had actually gotten a new place and moved. Shikaku, Chusa, and I have never hated you, Naruto, or told our kids to be mean to you any. We each wanted to help you when you were younger, but the council passed a law the third had to agree to when he passed your law, and that was that you could never be adopted, though all the clans were against this law with the exception of the Uchiha. We respected the Yandame's skills enough to have faith in him and thus you, but we were outnumbered. The most we could do was keep the council from getting enough votes to have you either banished or killed, and then when you actually met our kids we had wanted to get them to befriend you, but there was an incident I won't tell you about since it's classified that nearly caused us to go to another war between a clan here in Konoha and another major village, and then by the time that mess calmed down the Uchiha massacre happened, and by the time we could do anything by then our kids had already made their groups of friends, and luckily Shikamaru and Choji hung out with you a few times, but I regret that Ino never did. Naruto sighed as he looked out the window and said, I see, it's alright. I don't blame Ino or any of you. I thank you for telling me all this, but it doesn't change anything anyways. I broke the law by staying here, so how am I to be punished? In a dead voice with no emotions. Inoichi said, well, you may not blame Ino, but I do. She was not raised that way, and I tried to teach her right from wrong since her mother passed away when she was a baby, but I guess I failed there, but she is going to be severely punished. Chusa asked Naruto, we talked about it after we figured out what happened, and we would like to do something that could help you out where nobody can say anything but also help us out in a way. Naruto looked at them and Shikaku said, you see, Naruto, we would like to take you as our apprentice. All three of us would. We watched you sneak in here from outside and you show skills as a stealth expert, and it would not be hard to turn you into a capture and interrogation expert like all three of us, or with the help of Ukage Bunch and no jutsu that you learned. Since Kakashi not actually teaching you, we can go to the third and get him to do that once we explain the situation. Inoichi said, we also have two friends that like you and have actually saved you a few times in the past that are also looking for someone to pass on their skills to, and we think you would be perfect for it. Naruto frowned and said, look, I appreciate the offer, but I don't want pity or guilt. Inoichi said, oh, it's not. You see, I want your help in teaching Ino a lesson, and this will give you a chance to show not only her but Shikamaru and Choji the real you, and for you to make some real friends. However, there is one thing we would like to do, and we can't do it without your permission. Naruto frowned, thinking over the idea, and asked what. Shikaku said, we would like to tell our kids the truth, Naruto. Naruto thought a moment and looked down and said, you want to tell them about the QB? Why? Shikaku said Shikamaru has tried for years to figure out exactly what it is that most of the village dislikes you about, and because of the law I can't tell him, though he has actually guessed it a few times without knowing it, but he has told me he does not think you deserve it and that it was troublesome in his own words. Choji I know has helped him, and he said anyone who eats a Chiraku ramen can't be bad, so both of them would accept you, and that would give you a chance to actually have someone your own age to talk to about things without secrets. Something you never had before. Inoichi said because of what Ino has done she needs to be taught that her fairy tale world she lives in does not really exist, or she's going to go out on a mission and die. I don't want to see her, so I think if she were to actually learn the truth and what her actions has caused, then it will be the wake-up call that she really needs. It's my fault for treating her like a princess all these years, being my only child, but I can't overlook this. Naruto sighed as he thought and said, will she accept me and will she keep my secrets, as he looked down. Inoichi said she will, or I will disown her, making everyone's eyes wide. Naruto looked at him shocked and asked in a low gasping breath why. Inoichi said her actions have consequences, Naruto. Everyone's does. She can't treat people like shit and get away with it forever. Sooner or later she's going to cross the wrong person and that's it. I hate to say that, but it's the world we live in. I want her to open her eyes and actually see the world, and by showing her what you have had to deal with the past 2 weeks and then explain to her about the remarks your manager had said along with why it's so hard for you now, then she will see exactly what her actions have done. Naruto looked down and Shikaku said you can also drop the act. We can all three tell you're pissed at her. Even if you deny it, your body language still tells it. Naruto shook his head as tears started to fall and said you're right, I am pissed at her. She treated my life like it's nothing, throwing away my treasured items. It's worse than what the damn villagers do to me when they ignore me, because Ino has actually known me from here in the academy. Hell, we even met before the academy, but she doesn't remember. If it wasn't for me, then her and Sakura would have never have been friends in the first place. She broke into my apartment, one of 4 places in this village where I don't feel judged by the glares or the words or the threats or the hatred for the Kyuubi, and she destroyed it by acting as if she has the rights to it, and then she took my money and actually felt like I owed her. How can I forgive that? I don't blame you, sir, or anyone, but I do blame her. I have nothing left but the cloths I am wearing. My manager took everything, my food, my furniture, my cloths, my ninja tools that I didn't have on me, everything, and what's worse is when I was waiting on a roof for him to leave so I could try and get some of it, he actually started to burn it all so I could never get it back. I fucking tried to kill myself that night because I have nothing now to live for, as he pulled up his sleeves and showed the 3 men 10 scars on both wrists, shocking them. Inoichi thought, Ino, I have never been more disappointed in you than I am right now. Naruto just pulled his knees up to his chest and wrapped his arms around his legs and put his head on his knees and cried. None of them could say anything as they watched Naruto break down, and soon his sobs grew quiet and Chusa checked him and said he's out. I don't know if it's from the mental and emotional strain, the fact he's starving, or just plain tired, but he won't be up for a while. Inoichi closed his eyes and said, Ino, if Naruto refuses to accept what we offered him, then you will be kicked out on the street with just 1 set of cloths and your ninja equipment like he is, and I will disown you. As your father, I am sickened by you at this moment, as he walked over and picked Naruto up and said, my god, he doesn't even weigh 100 pounds, guys. Hell, Ino weighs more than him and she diets all the damn time. Shikaku sighed and said, let's take him to the Hokage office and tell him everything, though I think he knew all along. All 3 men nod and leave the building after locking it up and then Shushin to the Hokage tower. The third was in his office doing paperwork when the 3 appeared, and he looked up and said, what happened to Naruto? Inoichi said, let me set him down and I will explain everything, sir. The third nods and Inoichi walked to the couch in the corner and set Naruto down, and he turned back and Shikaku said, you knew all along, didn't you, sir? The third asked, whatever do you mean? Shikaku shot him a glare, and the third pulled out his pipe and stuffed some tobacco in it, and after lighting it and taking a puff he said, yes, I did. Kakashi had noticed something was wrong with Naruto as he kept getting weaker and weaker during the bell test and seemed pale. He noticed the scars on Naruto's wrist and instantly realized what they were from, though how they actually scarred I don't know, since usually all his wounds heal like they never were there. I went to the ramen stand to talk to them and they said he hadn't been in, which is odd, so I went to his apartment. I learned he was evicted and I had the manager sent to Ibiki because I suspected foul play, and he told how he informed a blonde-haired girl with blue eyes in a purple dress how to get into Naruto apartment through a window he purposely sabotoged. He then told about what happened with kicking him out and how Ino had left earlier with spoiled milk on her dress. I knew only one person who matched that description, and I had an ANBU check your trash Inoichi, which I am sorry, but I had to make sure, and they discovered the dress, so I sent out a team to find Naruto and bring him to me. They couldn't. I had Kakashi follow Naruto on several nights after training, and Naruto was able to lose him every night somehow, making all three men wide-eyed. The third took another puff and said, anyways, Iruka then informed me last week about the break-ins at the academy, and I suspected it was Naruto but couldn't be sure, so I had Kakashi observe it for a couple of nights to make sure it was him and not someone else, and he told me of his findings. I tried to find him another place, but no one else in this village would allow him in since they have all heard he was homeless somehow. I couldn't bring this matter up to the council, so I decided to give you this mission and see if you three might be able to help him in some way. Because of what has happened, Naruto is now considered a flight risk like the Uchiha because he does not have anything actually tying him to Konoha any longer, so I'm having to remove him from Kakashi team because Kakashi can only keep an eye on one at a time. I had planned to watch and see how it worked with my all-seeing crystal ball, but I had an annoying villager claiming someone had stole from her, breaking several windows, and she claimed it was Naruto, though I have ANBU reports showing that it was her own son that broke the windows and her China collection playing stickball with rocks in the street. Inoichi looked at Naruto and said, do you guys agree? Shikaku said, of course we do. Chusa nods and Inoichi said, we would like to take Naruto as our apprentice, sir. The third smoked another puff and asked, to what end? Shikaku said, sir, with what we saw and know of Naruto, we would like to turn Naruto into a CIA member. The third blinked and said, really, we have not actually had one of those in over 30 years though, are you sure you three could teach him that? Chusa said, not alone, sir, but we all know two other individuals who both want someone to pass on their skills to, and both like Naruto, and what we can't teach him they can. The third looked at Naruto and asked, is he really out? Shikaku said, probably for a while, sir. He knows the truth about Ino and he's mentally broke now, sir, plus he's starving to death. Why? The third did some hand signs and the room glowed, and the third said, if I agree to this I have a mission for you three, as well as some information you should be made aware of. Shikaku said, you mean that he's Minato's son? The third's eyes got wide a moment and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Chusa said, you can't hide it forever, sir. The older he gets, the more people are going to recognize him for who he really is. Especially with our help. The third sighed and said, I won't confirm or deny anything, but that is not what I am needing to inform you about. Jiraiya is his godfather and plans to return to teach him a few things the Yondaime wanted him to know. There is also a group of S-rank criminals that will be coming for him because of the QB. Among them is Uchiha Itachi, making all three men pale. The third said Itachi is actually a double agent. The Uchiha massacre was ordered by members of the council without my permission because the Uchiha clan was planning a coup d'etat. He is currently sending information to Jiraiya when available about the group. In return for this he has made two requests, protect Sasuke and protect Naruto. If you ever encounter him you cannot blow his cover and he won't blow it, and you will have to fight, but he won't kill unless he has no choice, but he may injure you. The group he is with is more dangerous to Konoha and then the QB was because the leader is none other than Uchiha Madara, the man responsible for the QB attack. Besides myself, only the three members of the council who ordered the Uchiha massacre knows that he is still alive. Not even Jiraiya knows about him. This info cannot get out or it could result in the destruction of the village. The only reason I am telling you three is because you are putting not only yourselves but your family in danger by doing this, and you will have to take his training serious. If they get Naruto, Konoha will fall. All three men looked at each other and Chusa asked, why has this information's not been told to the council? The third said, because the council can't keep secrets, and if this became public knowledge it could cause a civil war. The only way I have kept Naruto safe the past few years is by holding this info over those three members. Shikaku said, Danzo, and your advisors. they're the only ones with enough power to pull that off. The third closed his eyes and nodded, and Shikaku said, "We understand, sir, but we want those other two to be allowed to teach their trade to Naruto." The third said, "Very well. I am sure I know who you are talking about, but you cannot tell either of them what I have told you, and you have to get them to agree to it. I approve it, but I will not force them to teach him. Now I must figure out where Naruto is to stay since you agreed to teach him." Inoichi smiled and said, "I got that covered, sir, though I would like a full review of Naruto teachers in the academy, sir, because we already learned he doesn't know the rope escape jutsu, he doesn't know how to read or write kanji either, and that is the beginning of what I fear is a long line of things he was denied knowledge of." The third said, "Very well, then I leave Naruto in your capable hands, and thank you from an old man who has seen his grandson suffer. Nothing we have discussed can be told under punishment of death." Shikaku said, "About that, sir, there is one thing though. We have asked Naruto for permission to tell the kids his secret so he can turn to them for advice without being afraid or having to keep secret. He has not agreed yet, but I think he will, at least for the boys. It will take time for him to trust Ino after this has happened." The third said, "Yes. I can't imagine what it must have been like for him to lose everything like that." Inoichi said, "It's worse than that, sir, he didn't just lose it. Ino threw his memories away in the trash because she thought it was trash. I will help him work on overcoming this and also help him deal with the mental state he is in, sir." The third nods and said, "Well, if that is all, then good luck, men." All three nod, and Inoichi walked over to Naruto and picked him up, and he said, "I will take him on to my place. Go ahead and explain it to the boys because I will be explaining it to Ino tonight. Give me tomorrow to try and gain his trust a little, and then we will go from there." The other two nod and leave, and Inoichi shushins with Naruto in his arms. When he appeared in his home, Ino was sitting on the couch reading a magazine, and she gasped and said, "Daddy, what's Naruto doing here and what's wrong with him?" Inoichi glared at her and said, "Shut up and sit down, young lady. You are in very much trouble. I will deal with you in a few minutes," as he turned and walked up the stairs and took Naruto to his bedroom and set him down on his bed before removing his shoes and covering him up. Ino was scared by the look her dad had and thought, "What did I do?" When Inoichi walked down the stairs, Ino started to say something, and Inoichi said, "If you so much as say one word, I will bend you over my knees and spank your ass until you can't sit. I am very, very disappointed in you," as he walked in front of her, walking back and forward several times trying to calm himself down. Ino thought as she trembled under the ki coming from her dad, "What happened? I didn't do anything to deserve this, did I?" Inoichi stopped and looked at her, and she flinched, and he said, "All right. I think I have calmed down enough to tell you why I am so upset. Do you remember what happened 2 weeks ago, the day you got your teams? Just nod, don't speak or I might hurt you." Ino nods, and Inoichi said, "You remember how you broke into Naruto's apartment and took his money?" Ino nods again, and Inoichi said, "Because of you Naruto did not move but was evicted from his home because that money was not only his food money but his rent money. That was all the money he had in the world," making Ino eyes wide, and she started to say something, and Inoichi raised his hand and she closed her mouth. Inoichi said, "It doesn't end just there either. Because of your actions, his landlord refused to even let him take anything from the apartment, claiming he would have to sell them to cover the rent or some bullshit story landlords do, so all he had was the cloths on his back. He left and snuck to the roof of another building to try and get something after the manager left, but the manager burnt everything Naruto owned, making Ino feel a little guilty." Inoichi saw this and said, "But that's only just the beginning of the suffering Naruto has had to endure because of you for the past 2 weeks. No, it gets much worse. You see, that money was his food money to pay his tab at the ramen stand, but because he didn't have any money he couldn't get any food, so he has only had a fish he caught in the river and a few berries to eat in all this time." Inoichi stopped and walked back and forward a few times, and he asked, "If you were Naruto, what would you have done in his situation? Ino, you can speak." Ino said, "I don't know, maybe go to a friend's house." Inoichi glared at her and asked, "And what friends does he have, Ino?" Ino opened her mouth and said, I don't know, Daddy." Inoichi said, "None. You see, there are things about Naruto I can't tell you without his permission, but because of these things Naruto is hated by nearly the entire village, and it is not even his fault. In fact, he should be seen as a hero instead for it, but he is kicked out of stores, glare at, spat on, hit, overcharged, and countless other things since the day he was born. Ino. It's not because of his pranks or anything like that. Ino gaped at this and thought what could make people hate Naruto like that. Inoichi sighed and said that's not the worst of it. Ino, you have hurt him like no other person has ever hurt him before. You cleaned his apartment, didn't you? Ino nods and Inoichi asked were there ramen cups around the apartment. Ino said yeah, all over the place, really messy. Inoichi glared at her Aegean, making her flinch, and he said you see Ino, Naruto doesn't have a lot of valuable things before that because he couldn't afford them, but those ramen cups were like your flower press, dear. On the bottom of each of those cups were names, dates and events that something good happened to him in his life. He had them laying around like trash, so if someone broke into his apartment again they would think they were just trash and not destroy them, but you invade his home, somewhere he felt somewhat safe, and threw his precious memories away. Ino said, but I didn't know. If I would have just left them and sat quietly. Inoichi said you shouldn't have even been in his apartment in the first place, as he gasped for breath, shocking her. He continued, your actions have consequences, Ino, some drastic. Come with me, as he got up and walked up the stairs. Ino got up and followed, and she followed her dad into his bedroom and saw Naruto passed out, and Inoichi walked over and pulled Naruto's arm out and said, come here young lady and look what your actions caused, as he pulled up Naruto's sleeve. Ino gasped as she saw the scars and said, no, don't tell me that. Inoichi grabbed her arm and pulled her out of the room and back to the front room and pointed to the couch, and she sat down rubbing her arm that had a red handprint from his hand, and he said yes, that night he tried to kill himself, Ino, because he felt like he had nothing left to live for. He never knew his parents, Ino. He's never had anyone besides the Hokage, who is a very busy man, the old man at the ramen stand, and his daughter, and maybe one or two other people. Besides that, he has been alone, treated like shit because of something he had no control over, and he never even knew why he was treated that way until the day of your graduation. What I am about to tell you is exactly how Naruto passed that day. Ino looked at her dad in interest, and he said the teachers at the academy have purposely sabotaged his education, Ino, so bad I can't even begin, but because of this and the reason he is hated, he has too much chakra to produce the bunshin, and nobody would teach him how to control it. But the assistant Mizuki pulled Naruto aside and told Naruto there was a second test he could take, and if he passed he would graduate. He told Naruto the location of the forbidden scroll of seals in the Hokage tower and told him a location to bring it to, and told him if he could learn one jutsu from it he would pass. Naruto, who even though was sabotaged by the teachers, has trained himself enough that he was able to sneak by 4 patrols of ANBU and 10 Chunin. Break into the location where the scroll was, which has the best security in the entire village, and was preparing to leave the tower when the Hokage discovered him. Naruto was able to incapacitate the Hokage long enough to escape the tower and the village. He went where Mizuki told him to go, and he learned a jutsu from the scroll before Iruka showed up. Naruto then learned he was tricked, but Mizuki attacked both them, wounding Iruka, who saved Naruto by taking a Fuma Shuriken in the back. He then told Naruto why he was hated, though changed it enough to make him think it was his fault. Naruto got away while Iruka and Mizuki fought, but when Mizuki taunted Iruka, Naruto overheard it, and Iruka actually told the truth and believed in Naruto as the hero he should have been, and Naruto came back and saved Iruka from the killing blow. Naruto then took that jutsu he learned and beat the hell out of Mizuki, nearly killing him. Iruka then congratulated Naruto, and since the jutsu Naruto learned was the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, a Jounin version of the one he failed in the academy, he gave him his own headband. The Hokage then informed all of us who were looking for Naruto the truth, and Naruto was allowed to pass. Ino was floored and said, I don't understand, Dad, why is he hated and why is he here? I can understand you being mad at me now, and I bet if Naruto found out he would hate me. Inoichi snorts and said, oh don't worry, he knows. I told him, making Ino eyes wide. He continued and said, tonight the Hokage had my team investigate the academy because someone has been breaking into the academy for the past 2 weeks at night. It turns out Naruto has been the one who's been doing it. He snuck in fear and has been washing his cloths in the bathroom and sleeping on the floor in the academy. Did you know that when you were in the academy he was not allowed to go to the library? Because of that, since he's been there those nights, he's been trying to teach himself what he's been Sabatoge so he could be a better ninja, so people will quit hating him. When we discovered this, we had to interrogate him, and he told us why he was there and everything that has happened. He didn't know who would take him money and throw his treasured things away. Do you have any idea how it felt to see someone emotionally broken and know your own daughter is the cause of this person's suffering? It killed me to tell my teammates what you did, and then when we had to tell him, I would rather be stabbed by a kunai than do that. He then tried to say it was all okay, he didn't hate you or anything, and just asked if he could have his money so he could eat, and then asked what his punishment for breaking into the academy so he could stay dry and a little warm would be. He is nothing but skin and bones now, Ino. He weighs less than you do. His outfit hides it, but his body is being damaged from the hunger. We all could tell he was lying, and we gave him a choice to become our apprentices and learn from us because we learned his sensei has been ignoring him completely. He turned us down because he didn't want pity or guilt, Ino. Think about that. Going through all of this hardship and he won't take help. He wants to earn his own keep. If you would have been there, I would have hurt you, Ino. I am your father, but there are some things that can't be forgiven. We then told him we knew he was lying about you, and he finally broke, Ino. The fake smiles, the laughs when he was hurting, all broke at that moment. You have hurt him, and I don't know if he will ever forgive you, and I don't know if I ever will either. You think everything is black or white, everything will have a happy ending and nothing bad will happen. Well, guess what? You're wrong. This world is cruel and painful. After he broke and curled himself into a ball and cried himself to exhaustion, we took him to the Hokage, and he agreed to let us take him as our apprentice. Since he has nowhere to stay, he will be staying here. Your actions, Ino, have consequences. People can be helped or hurt by them, and this time your actions have hurt someone you know greatly. I have decided for the time being that I am going to let him use your loft. Ino jumped up and said but, and Inoichi punched her in the stomach, knocking the air out of her and scarring her at the same time. He glared and said, no buts. I know I gave you that loft for when you get older, but you live under my roof and go by my rules. I have spoiled you, Ino, and treated you like a princess since your mother died, but that ends now. You're an adult and I am treating you as such. You have scheduled hours you are to work at the flower shop unless your team activities interfere with them. If you do not show up for them, then you will be punished the first time and a deduction of pay, the second time a write-up, and the third time I will fire your ass and hire someone else. You will no longer get an allowance, and you will no longer take cash out of the register or the safe for your own little wants. You will work for what you have or you will have nothing. You are responsible for your own laundry, your own healthcare products, and your own rent. The first 2 hours of each day you work will be deducted for your room and board. You are not allowed to make your own lunch hours, so you can go and chase after the Uchiha and be gone all day, or as I said, you will have pay cuts, write-ups, and termination. If you want a day off, you have to tell me in advance, and I will check the schedule to see if I can replace you that day. If I can't, tough. Ino screamed, this is all Naruto's fault. Inoichi slapped her across the face and screamed, Ino, this is all your fault. Naruto did not ask you to break into his apartment. Naruto did not ask you to steal his money. Naruto did not ask you to clean his apartment or get in his fridge. That was all why. Oh, you, and don't you dare scream in my face again or I will disown you and kick you out. I did not raise a thief, and I did not raise someone to break into people's homes. If I so much as see or hear of you blaming any of this on Naruto or having others blame him, I will carry out my threats. You have not only hurt Naruto, but you have hurt me, and I can't even look at you right now. Now get your ass to bed, as he moved out of her way. Ino, who was holding her face, ran up to her room and cried all the way up. After she was gone, a quiet voice said, please don't do that again, Yamanaka-sama. She may have hurt me, but I am used to being hurt. Ino's doesn't deserve that. You're her father and all she has. I am not worth it, making Inoichi gasp as he looked at the top of the stairs and saw Naruto standing there with a dead-to-the-world look in his eyes and a sad face. Inoichi asked, how much of that did you see and hear? Naruto said enough, as he turned and walked back down the hall. He stopped outside the door he saw Ino go into and he knocked. Ino, who was on her bed crying, heard the knocking and quickly got up and went to the door afraid, and when she opened it she saw Naruto and gasped as she saw the look on his face, and she took a step back. Naruto said, I'm sorry that happened to you. If it helps, I'm leaving so you don't have to worry about me taking your place or ever see me again. I asked your dad not to do that again because I'm not worth it, as he turned and started to walk back down the hall. Ino, who was still holding her face, said, wait. Naruto stopped with his back still turned to her and she asked, why are you hated? Naruto closed his eyes and said, I was born on October 10th, the day Kyuubi attacked. The Yondaime did defeat the Kyuubi like we learned, but he did not kill it. Nobody can kill something that's immortal, so he made it mortal by summoning the Shinigami and taking a newborn infant and sealed the Kyuubi into him so that way when the baby grows up his chakra and the Kyuubi would merge together, and when the baby dies kill the Kyuubi with him. I was that baby, as he started to walk some more. Ino, who was wide-eyed, asked, then why were we told different? Naruto stopped again and said, the Yondaime asked that I'd been seen as a hero, but the villagers called for my death. In order to save my life, the Sandaime passed a law saying that nobody was to mention about the Kyuubi to those who didn't know, or even about the law under penalty of death, but the people either ignored the law or got around it by telling others I was a bad person or I was evil or to stay away from me, and those our age picked up on the adults' attitude toward me and did it also, as he started to leave again. Ino bit her lip and asked, where are you going? Naruto said, to see the Hokage and resign as a ninja. I have nothing here anymore. I am leaving the village. Maybe I can find some place in the world where people won't know me and I can, as he stopped talking and started to walk some more and he reached the stairs. Ino fell to her knees as she began to cry and thought, it's all my fault. He's leaving because of me. If I hadn't have broken, none of this would have happened, as she pulled her knees to her chest and began to cry. Inoichi looked at him from the bottom of the stairs and thought, I have no right to stop him. Ino knows the truth now so she can understand, but I think the price was way too high. I can't believe I actually slapped her, my own daughter, because I was angry, as he looked away. Naruto walked out of the door from the house to the shop and screamed, can someone come lock up, as he walked to the door and unlocked it and began to walk down the road. Naruto had made it about 100 yards from the shop when he was frozen in place and he said, not again, as he couldn't move. Shikamaru's voice said, Cage main no jutsu success. Choji, bag him and tag him. Choji ran past Shikamaru over to Naruto and threw a gurney sack over Naruto's head and body, and Naruto's head came out of a small hole in the bottom and Choji tied it tight around his feet and grabbed the feet and said okay, and the shadow stopped, and before Naruto had a chance to react, Choji slung him over his shoulder and Naruto screamed, let me go, damn it. Shikamaru walked over and put duct tape over Naruto's mouth and said, damn loudmouth blondes. Trying to alert the whole village. We are kidnapping you, damn it. Naruto's muffled voice came through the duct tape and Choji said, sorry Naruto, but as your friend we're not letting you leave. We don't care about the fox, but we do care about you. Naruto kept trying to get free as they walked down the street and Shikamaru said, won't work, we used this on my mom once and she couldn't get out, so we know you can't because you're not half as skilled as she is. Now I don't know what you think about Ino, and at this point I don't care, but when we heard what happened I knew you would try to leave and we can't let that happen, so we are kidnapping you from yourself. Now be a good little hostage and you can eat the ramen we have at my house for you. Naruto glared at him as he walked behind Choji. Naruto sighed and let his head down and quit trying to escape, and about 5 minutes later they arrived at the Nara's home. Shikamaru opened the door and Choji came in and Shikaku asked, do I want to know? Shikamaru said, it's too troublesome to talk about right now. Okay, you can release him now. Choji sat Naruto's feet down on the floor and Naruto made a run for the door only to be captured again by the shadow of Shikamaru, who turned him around and marched him to the eating table, and once they both sat down Choji sat 20 bowls of ramen on the table and Naruto looked at it and Shikamaru said after Choji took the bag off, either you eat it or I have my mother feed you, and that is way too troublesome. Naruto closed his eyes and asked, why are you stopping me? I am leaving the village. Choji slapped him over the head and said, no you are not. Naruto rubbed his head and asked, and why the hell not? Akuniya hit the table in front of him and Yoshino Nara said, language young man. I will not have that kind of talk in my house. Naruto smirked and Shikamaru paled and said, no don't, and Naruto said, what the hell's wrong with the way I fucking talk, lady? I can talk any damn way I fucking please. You're not my mother, so don't bitch at me. Shikaku ran out of the house along with Choji and Shikamaru, and before Naruto had a chance to understand, Mount St. Yoshino blew and she appeared behind Naruto, grabbing his ear and dragged him toward the bathroom as he screamed, "Ow, let go of my fucking ear, lady." Outside of the house, Choji asked, "Do you think he's going to be okay?" Shikamaru said, "No man, I never seen anyone who had the gall to do that to my mother." Shikaku said, "I have." She castrated the guy and then she started at his toes and worked her way up using her kitchen knife to cut every inch of his body, and then she poured hot sauce on the guy's wounds before throwing him on top of a campfire and then used salt to put it out. The guy killed himself to end the pain. I fear our young friend is not long in this world. When they made it to the bathroom, Yoshino quickly bound Naruto's hands behind his back with a bath towel and she stuck his head in the toilet while she flushed it, and she turned on the sink water and pulled out a bar of hand soap that is especially designed for butchers, and she pulled Naruto's head up, and as he opened his mouth to gasp for breath she shoved the soap into his mouth, closing it with the palm of her hand, and she looked into his eyes and said, "Lesson 1, Naruto, that you missed out is when a mother tells you to watch your language, you will do it or you will have to have your mouth washed out with soap. I don't care how you talk outside, but when you are inside of my home you will talk with manners and respect," as she pulled the bar of soap out. Naruto glared at her and said, "Fuck you, you old hag." Naruto was shoved into the toilet again, and as he shook his head back and forward she grabbed his boxers and pulled up on them, giving him a wedge, forcing him to scream into the water, and she pulled him out, sticking the bar back into his mouth, and she glared and said, "Do you understand me now?" as she waited 30 seconds and pulled the bar out. Naruto said, "Go to hell, bitch." 20 minutes later, when Shikaku and the boys came back inside, Naruto was sitting at the table with a towel over his neck and he belched and soap bubbles came out of his mouth, and Yoshino said, "Manners, Naruto." Naruto said, "Excuse me, mother," in a quiet voice. Yoshino said, "Good, Naruto, now eat up and remember to keep your elbows off the table." Naruto said, "Yes, mother," as he took slow bites at a time of his ramen. Shikaku blinked and said, Dear, what happened while we were outside?" Yoshino cleaned up another bowl and said, "Oh, I was just teaching Naruto here on manners." "Nothing really, right, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Yes, mother." Shikamaru looked at Naruto and asked, Naruto, are you okay?" Naruto said, "Of course I am, why wouldn't I be?" Choji said, "Well, you seem a little, what's the word I am looking for?" Shikamaru said, "Mannered." "Why do you keep calling my mom mother?" Naruto glanced at Yoshino, who walked into the kitchen, and he said, "Help me, guys, she's scary and tried to kill me, please," as she came back in the room and she asked, "Please what, Naruto?" Naruto gulped and said, "Please may I have another bowl," as he made sure his elbows were off the table. Yoshino said, "All right, but this is the last one." Naruto said, "Thank you," as he slowly ate it. When he was done he asked, "May I be excused?" Yoshino said, "Of course, go take a bath and you can stay in Shikamaru's room tonight. I think I got some cloths that can fit you." Naruto said, "Thank you, mother, you're too kind." Shikaku asked, "Dear, why does he keep calling you mother?" Naruto said, "Yoshino-sama has asked me to think of her as my mother when here in her house. It is such an honor I could not refuse, because to do so would be insulting." Yoshino said, "Thank you, Naruto, now go get a bath." Naruto gulped and asked, Do you have a bathroom without a toilet, mother?" Yoshino said, "Of course not, now go on, get." Naruto quickly got up and left toward the bathroom, grabbing Choji and Shikamaru's hands. When they got to the bathroom, Naruto pulled them inside and closed the door and said, "Okay guys, that woman is too much for me. I am making a break for it and want to know if you want to come with me. I figure we can turn on the bath water and lock the door and sneak out of the window after creating 3 cage buncheons and having 2 henge into you guys, and that will give us a good 10-minute head start. I will make some cage buncheon that will henge into us and blanket the village, and while she is trying to find us we can sneak over the walls and be in wind country before sunrise. We can then head toward a port and catch a boat and get the fuck out of the elemental country." "Oh no!" as Naruto realized what he said and covered his mouth, but Yoshino appeared behind Naruto and plunged his head back into the toilet, shocking the boys as she pulled him up and shoved the soap into his mouth. Shikamaru said, "Now you see why she is troublesome." As the soap was pulled out, Naruto said, "Troublesome. This is it for today, to be continued."